right, we're live on Locals and Facebook. Just reading some things here. All right, close some things down there. Okay, looks pretty good. Brand new setup here today. And as some of you know, what's unusual about this live stream is that instead of doing it on Locals and on YouTube, I decided today to go to the old Facebook group and live stream there in addition to here on Locals. And the reason for that is because a lot of new people have been coming into the Facebook group, folks that I haven't got to talk to, and I wanted to give them plenty of opportunity to know why there's not a lot of activity on Facebook these days, and have every opportunity to join us over at thelastsymptom.locals.com. That's where it's all happening at these days. And so that's why I decided to do it on Locals and on Facebook. I had forgotten actually that Facebook has a live stream option. I had used it a few times, but it's been so long since I've used Facebook that I had totally forgotten about it. So I guess what I might have to do is end up getting a third camera. That way I can live stream to Locals, YouTube, and the old Facebook group, just to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to join us on Locals if they want to. Don't have to, but that's where everything's happening at. Well, how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. Hope your weekend's going well. Let me tell you a little bit about my weekend. Friday night, I rented a couple of movies, and they turned out to be really good movies. I mean, I liked them. And those two movies were Old Henry. If you haven't seen it, you can get that online and rent it for I think $6, and it's still in the theater, so that's a pretty good deal. Old Henry, I don't want to give too much about it, but it's a Western, and I really like Westerns. It's got Tim Blake something, and what's that other guy's name? Stephen Dorff is in it, and it was a really good movie. Like I said, it involves Billy the Kid, and I'm a big fan of Billy the Kid. William H. Bonney, William the Kid, Billy the Kid. So I saw that movie, and then I saw a movie with Elijah Wood about Ted Bundy called No Man of God. You guys heard about that movie? It was pretty good. Before I rented it, I looked up all these reviews on it, and a lot of people were complaining it was too slow for them. But for the line of work I'm in, I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was very insightful. And I had recommended a book a couple years back about an FBI serial killer profiler. And a lot of psychology involved in that. And that's why I found that book so useful and practically useful for my own needs and for my own interactions with other people, because of all the psychology that's explained in that. And that's what those FBI profilers have to do. The most amazing thing about their work is that what they're doing is they're taking somebody they haven't even met. They don't even know who they are, but they're looking at their crime and drawing information from the crime itself to figure out in detail who this person probably is, their living arrangements, their approximate age, the type of car they're probably driving. I mean, it's incredible the things that they can deduce just from examining a crime scene like that. So anyway, there was a little bit of that involved in this movie, No Man of God, with Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood plays an FBI serial killer profiler. And so again, the story's about Ted Bundy, and that was my evening on Friday night. Today, got proper autumn weather out there, so I've been enjoying the cooler temperatures, and I went out and I started this project working on a fence. My dogs, when I let them out, they go outside and they pee on the same trees every time. The result of that is that they're killing the bottom of my tree. So what I did was ran to the hardware store, and I picked up some stakes and some twine, a big ball of twine, about a ½ inch thick, about a ½ inch thick. And I made myself some twine fences around the yard. Keep those dogs out away from my trees, from peeing on my trees. So that was fun. And I also spent some time this morning with my daughter's birds. You can hear them probably there. They live here with me. And I got them for my daughter, but I enjoy them so much. I try to set aside time, a regular schedule, every day and every week to spend time with those birds. And during the week, that time is fairly short, but on Saturdays what I like to do is I like to take their whole cage. I had built them this enormous cage, and I like to lift that thing and take that outside and let them be outside and enjoy the outside air and that sort of thing. Coming into winter, not sure how much I'm going to be able to do that. So that is the start to my weekend. I see some people in here. How's your weekend going? Just a minute, we're going to get into the review of the past week in Last Symptom Land, but I'd like to know how your week's going. Also have some other things to share if people are shy and don't feel like talking. So you don't have to talk, but that's what makes these live streams so nice, is the live interaction between moi and you. So you don't have to be shy. All right, well, I'm going to start talking then about the weekend review. Monday, over on Locals, that's, like I say, that's where everything's happening these days, not on Facebook, but I'm streaming this on Facebook to give everybody, especially new folks who have joined in the past year, an opportunity to find us over there on Locals, if that sounds like something you'd like to do. And this review will give you an idea of the sort of things we do over there and the things we talk about. On Monday, we started the week off with a live chat. By the way, before we get into this, I had given a notice a couple hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago, that I was going to do this live chat about this time between 4 and 5. And I sat down in my chair, and I tell you what, I wanted to take a nap so bad, I can't even tell you. I really wanted to take a nap. But I said, Barnett, no, you can't. You promised these people you'd do this. So whether anybody shows up or not, you're obligated to do it. So that's why I'm here. And, now that I've started talking, I feel woke up, and I'm glad to be here. All right, Monday. We started the week off with a live chat on Locals. Again, if you want to join us on Locals, that's thelastsymptom.locals, LOCALS.com. And so what I've been trying to do there, on Mondays, I like to try to do a live chat. And that's where I create a post. But within that post, when you go in, there's a live chat. You can join that. And we talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about. I answer questions, that sort of thing. And one thing I've been doing is I've been trying different times. So this Monday I did it real early. And I learned that real early, my time, is probably not best for people. I got a couple people participating, but just a couple. I think the best turnout that I've had for these live chats has been kind of Monday late afternoon. So I may go back to that. But anyway, Monday is usually the day I dedicate for a weekly live chat. And the reason I like to do that is because our weekends have ended, and I like to see how folks are doing. If they need to get anything off their chest, or if they need any other questions answered or anything like that. So, topics that we discussed on that live chat on Monday. We talked about people confusing thoughts for feelings and feelings for thoughts. Maybe you're somebody who does that. You confuse your thoughts for your feelings and your feelings for thoughts, and you do that to other people too. So when you say, hey, what do you feel about this thing or that thing? And the person says, that makes me feel this way. Do you get angry at that? Well, if you do, it's because you're confusing feelings for thoughts. A thought can be wrong or right. A feeling can't be wrong or right. That's why that's so important. And there's a million other applications for that too. So we talked about that. People confusing thoughts for feelings and feelings for thoughts. They're not the same thing. The same rules don't even apply equally to both of those things. It's important to know the difference. Let's see, we continued an ongoing discussion about how to deal with office politics when it comes to emotional disorders and emotional health. I shared an in-depth story of something that really happened to me within the workplace when I was working for a famous hospital in Philadelphia. And I used that as a template for handling work or office politics. So, if you weren't in on that live chat, you're missing out. Fortunately, when those live chats end on the Last Symptom community on Locals, I make them accessible to everybody who might come along later. So if you missed out on the live chatting portion of that, don't feel too dismayed. You can still access that whole chat conversation and take advantage of that. On Tuesday, I did a live stream. That's what this is. A live stream inviting folks on Locals and YouTube to join me while I watched the Red Sox play against the Tampa Rays. Red Sox ended up winning, but they had me nervous there for a while during that live stream. And I was trying to talk about serious things, but I had the game on the TV right there. And so I was kind of checking the score every so often and that sort of thing. Topics that we discussed on that live chat. That was a good live chat. If you missed that, again, it's still available on Locals. It's also available on YouTube. Go check it out. We talked about the ancient Greeks, what they called depression. Do you know what the ancient Greeks called depression? They called it melancholia. But that's not all we talked about. We also went on to talk about the treatments that the ancient Greeks had for melancholia. Interesting. So if you haven't heard that, look up that live stream. There's a book that I often make reference to, me being a linguist, an interpreter. Um, it's called The Power of Babel. And it's a book really about human language, but I've gotten so many great things out of that book to use in my work. And that book is written by John McWhorter. And as far as I know, he's an atheist, but very insightful guy. Some passages from it I took and I shared with folks on that live stream to help reaffirm and further support the reality that everybody has inherent value. That if you're a person, you've got inherent value. Some of the things that he discusses about language, just the complexity of it, the uniqueness of it, that only people are capable of enjoying, really, it's an eye-opener. We talked about where the oldest Homo sapien fossils come from. The answer for that might have surprised some. We talked about inhabiting Mars. A lot of people all excited, think we're going to be there in the next 5 years or so. But are you really being presented with a realistic picture of what that involves and the conditions on that planet and everything like that? Well, we talked about that. We talked about how popular media paints one very optimistic picture, but it doesn't take into account some realities that we then went on to discuss. I shared a quote from Caesar Milan. You know him? He's the dog whisperer. Old Caesar Milan. Shared a quote from him that is also useful for you and I who are interested in emotional health. So, if you didn't get to hear that quote, make sure to run over to thelastsymptom.locals.com. Watch that live stream. You can also see the live stream on YouTube. I simultaneously did it on Locals and on YouTube. But that quote from Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer, also very useful for people who are interested in emotional issues related to emotional health. So I recommend going to see that. Let's see, I shared a bunch of passages from the book No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy. Now, I know they made that into a movie, but the movie doesn't have anything on the book as far as juicy, wonderful passages to take away, quotes to take away from that, things to meditate on and think about. So, good passages from that book involving emotional health, and particularly involving emotional unhealth. That was the real takeaway for me for that book. The passages that I took out of there and kept a note of were revealing in regards to emotional unhealth. And that's the reason why I jotted them down. I shared a quote with you that I'd heard during the summer that goes like this: moving on doesn't mean forgetting our past. It means remembering our future. And then nice, moving on does not mean forgetting our past. It means remembering our future. Something good to think about. I talked about my way too shiny nose. It's kind of shiny right here. I've used this light so you folks can see me, and it tends to give me a big shiny spot on my nose. So as I told the folks in that live stream, if it's too bright, just put on your glasses, your sunglasses, and you'll be fine. I shared a quote by Winnie the Pooh, of course related to emotional health. And then I read the last letter that I had ever written to Janelle, my mistress that I often talk about, and who was kind of front and center of my borderline personality disorder crisis. In that live stream, we talked about practical tips on how to journal when journaling doesn't come too easy to you. So, if journaling is something that you feel like would be good for you, but you just can't seem to get yourself into it, make sure to see that live stream where we talked about that. Practical tips on how to journal when journaling don't come easy. And then we talked about making a list of, pardon the French, bullshit beliefs. So these are bullshit beliefs that you have about yourself that maybe you've never acknowledged that you have about yourself, and making a list of all of these beliefs. And the reason for it is because you can't fix what you can't see. You can't fix what you can't see or that you won't admit is there. So by creating a list of these bullshit beliefs that we have about ourselves, then we have a list of things to tackle and discredit, really, so that we can not continue living with those bullshit beliefs. Let me see here. All right. That was Tuesday. On Wednesday, I shared various useful posts and insightful things to think about, my own contributions as well as other people's contributions from over the years that I pulled from out of the vault. And I shared those on the Last Symptom Locals community. Again, that's thelastsymptom.locals, LOCALS.com. That's where it's all happening nowadays, not on Facebook. Thursday. We all know what day that is. That's the Last Symptom podcast day. And so on Thursday, I released Season 4, Episode 9 of the Last Symptom podcast. The topic was suicide. Very somber. And one thing I wanted to add in that I didn't get to say is that I know that a lot of people, when you go talk to them for help, and you need somebody who really can instinctively or intuitively listen to you, understand the subtleties of what it is that's really bothering you underneath your skin. I know from personal experience that when you go to do this, a lot of times you don't feel like you're getting the sincerity from those people that you feel like you really need. And it's a shame, but it's just kind of a reality of the situation. You got to keep in mind, on these hotlines and those sorts of things, they're dealing with sometimes hundreds of people a week. And just think about yourself in any job that you're doing all the time. It's exhausting, and it does become repetitive. And you say, well, yeah, but people's lives are in the balance here. It doesn't matter. They're still people. The people trying to help are still people. And they also, it's exhaustive work. And it does become repetitive. So what I wanted to say about that was, don't give up. Don't give up. Allow them their humanity. Allow them their imperfections as people. Their desire is to help. So if you don't get the intuitive or the sincere listening that you would like from the first person or the second person or the third person, don't give up. Keep going. You will find that person. It's just a matter of endurance and stick-to-itiveness and not giving up. Friday was my day off, and golly, it felt good. That's when I got myself some booze, got all comfortable, rented a couple movies, chatted with some friends online, and that was my day. I know, I'm starting to sound like an old man. You guys are probably out at the clubs, partying it up and everything like that. Sorry I missed you. An exercise for discussion that I will hand over to you. Why will you never catch emotionally healthy adults saying things like, "It's not my fault," or "That's not fair"? If you ever hear an adult say, "It's not my fault," or "It's not fair," you know that that person's not emotionally healthy. An emotionally healthy person would never say that. Why? Why not? Well, I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to let you sit and think about that. And perhaps this coming week, we'll discuss this on the Last Symptom community over on Locals. So hope to see you there for that. Do you know what a bindle stick is? Or a bindle staff? It's spelled B-I-N-D-L-E. Bindle stick or bindle staff. Do you know what that is? I will give you a second to see if anybody replies. B-I-N-D-L-E, bindle stick or bindle staff. Anybody know what that is? I'm going to tell you. If you don't tell me first, I'm going to tell you. That's a stick that hobos would tie a bandana to, bandana like this, and they would tie it up like this, and they'd put their belongings or their food inside the bandana, and they would tie it up like that, and then they would have that stick, let's see, running through there like that, and then they would hold that over their shoulder, and they would walk with their belongings in that thing. And sometimes they'd also have a cook pot made out of a coffee can. Remember in this week's show, this week's Last Symptom podcast, I talked about how my grandpa would reuse these coffee tins, these cylindrical coffee tins, as for his spittoons when he'd chew tobacco. Hobos would take those cylindrical coffee cans and make stoves out of them, so they could actually cook on top of and stay warm with and everything else. So they might carry on their bindle stick or their bindle staff some belongings in their bandana or their kerchief, and then they might also stick that cook pot / coffee can on the end of their bindle stick, and those are still in use today. Bindle sticks, bindle staffs, they're still hobos today, and what's interesting about hobos is that they have this whole code of ethics and everything. It's a real, it's a much more complex thing, a much more complex lifestyle than you would just think. If all you know about it is the seeing it on cartoons and stuff like that. So maybe that's something. If you're curious, this weekend you could look up hobos on YouTube. Particularly my favorite hobo, real life hobo, his name's Hobo Shoestring. Just like the shoestrings on your shoes, that's his name. So if you want to follow along with a real life hobo, Hobo Shoestring on YouTube. Let's see. A few more minutes here and then I'm going to wrap up. Bullying. Is bullying really as big a problem as the world says it is? Is bullying really as big a problem as CNN and Fox and all the media would like you to believe it is? Well, if you know anything about the world, you should know by now, just take climate change, for example. Do they really address the underlying causes of climate change? No, they do some superficial little thing. Just each kind of a band-aid. And that's kind of the world's solution to almost everything. They look at the most glaring thing, and they they put all the importance on that because it's the loudest thing, it's the most obvious, but they don't bother to go any deeper than that. And so the problem never really gets addressed or resolved. So, bullying. You know, that is in the last, how long has it been? 10 years? Bullying has become this thing that it seems like everybody's united against. But is bullying really the problem? Well, let me ask you this. What does bullying do? I mean, what is the root problem of bullying? Or what is the thing that makes bullying so dangerous, let's say? I was just watching Scott Adams the other day. A guy I kind of admire. He's got I don't agree with everything he says, but I like the way he thinks and analyzes things. And there was a shooting in Texas, I guess, and even Scott Adams. Bullying's the problem. Bullying's the problem. It's these kids at school picking on this kid. But let me ask you, if you're confident in your self-worth as a person, does bullying work on you? The answer is no. If you are confident that your value as a human being is an inherent part of being you, what kind of effect can that have on you, bullying? It's a frustration. It's an inconvenience. But does it cause you to go and jump off a cliff? No, it surely don't. So is bullying really the problem? Well, somebody asked me not too long ago if bullying can be a contributor to borderline personality disorder. Here's the thing. You cannot blame borderline personality disorder on the bullies at school, because nobody and nothing else can be held responsible for the cause of borderline personality disorder except for the parents of children or the primary caretakers, whichever one. Parents are the ones responsible for instilling in their children a sense of value, that their value is an inherent quality of just being them. It's our parents who create the destructive narrative that we swallow and accept as reality, and that what they cause us to swallow is that our feelings are inherently irrelevant and shameful, devoid of inherent worth, and so are we. And so this causes us, the natural result of this is we go out into the world, and everything we view, every experience we have, we interpret through that lens. So things like bullying or any negative experience seems to confirm what we already have been taught to believe about ourselves. You see that? So again, does this happen to children with healthy parents who have not raised them to believe these destructive things about themselves? The thing that makes bullying so bad and dangerous does not work on a child who knows that his value is inherent, can't be granted to him or her, and can't be taken away. Bullying only works on kids who believe unhealthy things about their inherent worth already. The bully can't put it there. It's either there, and the bullying exacerbates it and plays off of it, exaggerates it. But the bully doesn't put that there. It's already there. So what's the real problem? The real problem is the parents. The real problem is the parents. Okay, last thing, then I'll close down. I see somebody's typing. Let me see what they got to say. Glad I happened on your stream this morning. Lots of food for thought. As I head into my day, I have to go, not wanting to be rude and walk out. Well, thank you so much. You must be in Australia. I hope you have a wonderful day. Oh, okay. Yeah, you too, she says. Thank you for your time here with me today. It's interesting. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, young teenager, the idea that I would one day be talking to people around the world, I wouldn't have believed you if you'd told me that. And yet here we are. Take it just for granted, don't we? We can't just talk to people around the world. We can see people around the world and talk to them on video. That's amazing to me. Last thing for today. Cunningham's law. You guys know what Cunningham's law is? It goes like this. If you want smart answers, don't ask a question. Cunningham's law. If you want smart answers, don't ask a question. What do you do instead? What you do instead is you give a wrong answer, or you ask the question in a way that it already contains inaccurate information. Cunningham's law. Don't ask the question, you give a wrong answer, or you ask the question in a way so that you're already giving incorrect information within that question. So the reason why this is so nice is because people generally don't want to be helpful voluntarily. But they do want to be the smartest person in the room. An example I saw written was like this. Hey, so you're an engineer. That means you build engines, right?
Is there something else I can help with?
My Siri kicked on. Oh, I gotta stop speaking these robots' names. Yeah, you're an engineer. So that means you build engines, right? Can you imagine the engineer you're talking to? God, this person's so stupid. And they start to give you all the things that engineers really do in great detail. Much more detail than if you had just said, hey, will you tell me what engineers do? You see how they would just brush off? Well, you know, we do this and we do that. I gotta get going, excuse me. But if you give them wrong information there like that, they're eager to let you know just how stupid you are and how smart they are. And all you have to do is just chime in every once in a while with, are you sure? That'll provoke them to give you even more information. Are you sure? You sure you don't just build engines? No, what we do is this, and it's very complex. And are you sure? Yes. So, you know, that's how you get smart answers. Many people are inherently more willing to jump into a conversation in which they can feel superior to you. It makes the conversation engaging to them. So, I gotta tell you, it works, but you gotta swallow your pride, and you gotta be willing to be talked down to. You gotta play dumb and be willing to be talked down to. But the genius of it is that they don't know that you're actually smarter than them, because you've just swindled them into giving an answer much more thorough than they otherwise would. Well, that's all I got to talk about today. I hope you folks are having a wonderful weekend. I'm going to log off here and see how it all turned out. This is a brand new setup for me. I got a brand new table here. You can see the mic. Got brand new setup here for the cameras and the computers and all that stuff. And I'm interested in seeing how it turned out. Thank you, Joy. You have a wonderful weekend too. Thanks for being here. I will close out first here on Usnoob, or not Usnoob, Facebook, and then I'll close down on locals in video.